got two types of frequencies. Okay, relative frequencies and probabilities. Percentages. Usually, whenever we have some survey-based data, we will convert those data variables into frequencies and probabilities. We call them as proportions. Maybe I think this one here, it is all about, say, for example, you got some data like, let me open the Excel file. I think I already have the Excel file in my previous session. Let me open this one. I got somewhere, I think, yeah, file choose. Here in file choose, I got the data in, what, scripts, data, sample data. Now this one, see if I verify this data, okay, I got this survey data, right? I call it as data was. I have a problem. Hey, come on, data. Oh, I used, okay, it's fine. So if I look, suppose if I show you the head survey data, now you see you got here age is actually, see, there are various variables in this data set. Okay, we can create the frequency table for gender. We can also create the frequency table for age and salary, family. Creating frequency table for gender, family, education is very simple. So that I have shown you in my last class. Table is there is a command called table. So if you use table, you will get the frequency table for categorical variables. So in this data set, we got both categorical variables and continuous variables. Gender is a categorical variable. Family is a categorical variable. I mean, non-numeric, categorical. Age and salary, these are all numeric, but non-categorical. Age is numeric, but non-categorical. Salary is numeric, but non-categorical. And these are also numeric, but they are actually categorical. You see, and all, there are categories. One is a category, two is a category, three is a category, something like that. So suppose if I use table function for gender, table, okay, survey data, and then gender. Now this is a frequency table. There are 13 instances of female and 10 instances of male, which means there are 13 individuals whose sex is gender is female and 10 individuals whose gender is male. So in the same fashion, I can also go for rest of the, like I want to go for salary, not salary, family. So here I can go here and just change salary. And then this is, no, not salary, I'm sorry. What is it? Family. Family is also categorical, so we can go for, there are 11 individuals who belongs to a combined family. So this is the way to compute the frequencies for categorical data, categories, data variables with categories. Suppose if I want to go for, you know, let's say, salary. Salary is purely non-categorical, but numerical and also continuous. Suppose if I use head, same function, head survey data, you see here, age and salary, both of them are continuous. They are continuous variables. They are not categorical. And now such data should be converted into categories only. To go for the frequency tables, there are different strategies here. Okay, there are different strategies. You see, if you look at here, this is actually a very simple description for the frequencies crosstabs. Now, if you look at here into the examples, we got my data is actually a data variable, whatever it is. Here I have survey data. This is actually my data. My data refers to any data set whichever you have in your workspace. And now my table is actually a table with two different categories, A, B, or categories. A will be rows, B will be columns. Table, rows, and columns. I don't think this is correct actually. A will be rows and B will be columns. I don't understand what is actually both of them should be categorical. To create a table, we need to have categorical variables. Variables, see, categorical variable is any variable whichever has levels. Okay, is factor. If you have a factor, survey data. So what is categorical? R don't know what is categorical variable. R actually knows any variable with is factor, survey data, and then let me say gender. I use gender. Oh, it is false. Okay, it shows it is false, but do it has levels, survey data, and then gender. I think it may not be having levels, but it shows survey data. And then, it will give you the frequency table. It will show you. That's okay, fine. It is working. Let's say table survey data. Yeah. So here the table denotes like this: gender in this example, survey data, and then let's say family. Now we are going to have a contingency table. Yeah. So this is actually the example. So as I'm using table for gender as well as each variable, it is also possible to use the table function for two different variables. Suppose I want to go for the cross tab. This is not a cross tab only. This is just a frequency table. If I use table for one single variable, it is going to be a frequency table. But if I use table function, same function for two different factors, it is going to be a cross tab or a contingency table. So what is the major difference between cross tab and contingency table is that 2 by table, I mean symmetric tables most of the time is called cross, and non-symmetric tables are called contingency tables. Usually this is actually, both of them are same, cross tab. When you cross any two factors, it is called a cross tab. Contingency tables are usually in statistics, we call it, whenever we use chi-square test on any cross tab, that is called a contingency table. Because suppose you want to know more about contingency tests wiki, use like this, you will get some certain information. Contingency, what is contingency table? And you see here you'll find the information in statistics. A contingency table, also known as a cross tabulation cross tab. So in colloquial sense, we don't have much difference whenever we call it as a concept whenever we call a contingency table, it also refers to a cross tab. In layman understanding, the difference is nil. There is no difference between contingency table and cross tab. But in a sensitive, I mean, like in a very in statistics, in statistical community, whenever we call contingency table, it is actually n by m kind of table. So it is also possible. Say for example, here we have two different. Do we have education? Let's say for example, if I cross gender versus education, let's see what's going to happen. Education. Now you see we got 3 columns and 2 rows in this cross tab. Same function table, but here gender has 2 responses, male and female, and education has 3 responses. This type of n by m format tables are called contingency tables, but it is actually silly. The difference, both of them refers to same. This is a cross tab as well as contingency table. Contingency table has, why we call contingency tables, because the relationship between these two responses, these two sets of responses, is under study. So whenever we take it for study by performing some chi-square test, usually we call it as a contingency table. We don't call it as a cross tab. This is a cross tab, but for okay, a cross tab is an input for the contingency test. Okay, contingency test. What are those contingency tests? Here you have, these are all actually the all measures of association. These are all tests or not. When you go to test odds ratio, it is a contingency test, or you can say it is a test for cross tab. These are all actually the chi-square test, different versions of chi-square test. Phi coefficient, Cramer's V, Cramer's C, and then you got a kind of other lambda coefficient and Yule's coefficient, Kendall-Stowe, Kruskal-Grammar test. When you got these are all actually different measures, we try to. I mean, this is analysis on the contingency tables. We can also call it as a contingency analysis. There is a mentioned test liquid. So this table is actually A is a factor for rows and B is a factor for columns. So just like this. Here, if I use gender, gender is going to set up for rows and education is going to set up for columns. That is what is the meaning. Okay, hope you're able to follow me. Is there any question here understanding this function table? The simplest two-way frequency table is with the help of table. You can create a two-way frequency table. This is just a relative frequency table. 5 is, these are all actually the frequencies. There are 5 instances. I mean, 5 individuals who belongs to a category higher than female. There are 5 female individuals whose, education is higher. There are only 2 individuals who belongs to whose gender is female, and they have primary education. Secondary has a more number of individuals. You see here 6. More number of, I think 5, each of 5 higher, 6 secondary, 2 primary. Now coming to male, there are very less. It looks like a bit interesting. There are less number of female individuals whose education is secondary, but most of the male individuals has higher. I think there are more female individuals in this. I go for table, survey, data, and then gender. Yeah, there are more number of female individuals, less number of. This is actually a hypothetical data set. You don't need to be so serious about what is. Okay, I created this. Doesn't. But if you do some survey and you have some certain data like this, okay, more female individuals. That is why actually each of 5, they possess higher education. But whereas there is some imbalance between female and male as far as secondary education is concerned. But as far as primary, this table is interesting, right? Don't you think that this is a bit interesting? Hello, are you all able to follow what I'm talking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So I'm thinking that I'm talking to myself. So I hope I'm not talking to myself. I think all of you are able to follow me.
Yeah, sir, we're following, sir.
So now we can also do little more analysis on the same object table. So now if I can save this output as in the form of a table, this one, okay, save this as in the form of a table. I'm going to save this as in the form of a table. This is going to be my table. Okay, left assignment. Now it is an object. So when I press my table, so now we can do anything and everything with this my table. So these are all just frequencies, but using these frequencies, we can do anything and everything. What can we do? We can find a margin table, actually marginal probabilities, and proportions table. There are 2 ways we can do. When we press 1, I think summed over B. When we supply 2, it is summed over A. I don't know, frankly speaking, I don't know what it is. If I'm interested, I can also know what it is. Let's do this. Okay, let's do little analysis over my table with an argument 1 margin table method. So there is, I think there should be, this is a base margin table, my table. Let me use my table. Yeah, it has margin table. It's not the correct one. This one is happening here is a margin table. Okay, summed over B. It is just okay margin. So okay, now 5 plus 2 plus 6, that is going to be 13. 5 plus 2 plus 3, that is what is called margin table. It is just as best as table frequency. Survey data. This is equal to gender. This is same. If you use margin table, this is just going to pick up this variable gender and find the sum of the sums for female and male. And now 2, I think you can guess now. It is going to be 10, 4, 9. Let's see. Margin table, my table. Now variable 2, that is going to be education. Now this is going to bring up the table for tabular frequencies for, you see, 10, 4, 9. Means what? 5 plus 5, 2 plus 2, 6 plus 3. That is what is, it is as, it is just nothing but, table, survey data, and then education. You see now, same. So margin table, my table 2 is same to that of table, survey data, education, same results. Now what else? Proportions table. So let's see what's going to cell percentages. If you want to find the, as it is, like, this is actually the crosstab. I want what is percentage for this value 5, percentage for this value 5, 2, 2, 6, 3. Now you can just use proportions table, prop table, prop. There are even we go to base commands and prop table, my table. If I use this, I'm going to get the proportions. It is just nothing but 5 divided by the grand total. Say for example here you'll get the 13. So what is the total here? 23. And what is the total here? 10 plus 4, 14, 14 plus 23, right? The grand total is going to be 23. Now 5 divided by 23. What is the value? 5 divided by 23. That is going to be 0.217. Have we got the point? Hello. So
Yes,
if
sir.
you
Yeah, sir.
if you find the probability value for this sixth one, 6 divided by 23, that is what is the value of this. So now it is possible for us to interpret like 21% of the total sample individuals properties are going to be like this. They have higher education and they're all female. And 13%, only 13% of the population, I mean the sample individuals in our sample, they have secondary education level and they're all male. So this is how you have to interpret. Hope it makes sense to you. So now you know what is margin table and you know what is proportions table, right? Now let's say an advanced way of doing, this is called, F table. F table is advanced way of performing the cross tabulation, but for, 3 different, this is called 3-way frequency table. Now, till now, I was just talking about my table refers to only, it has only 2 different. Now let's see. For example, if I go for, it cannot, I think table cannot make this. Table accepts only 2 different, but if you want to go for that is F table. F table, yeah, F table is there in the base, R base. Now survey data. I want to go for gender, survey data, family, and then survey data is going to be education. Now you see you got 3 by, so for every, for here the first is going to be the gender by family for all education levels. Suppose if I take 2 of the individuals, this is more detailed. Okay, earlier we used to have 5, 5. Now this 5 is being splitted for family. 2 plus 3 is 5, right? This 5, in that 5, 2 individuals belongs to combined and 3 individuals belongs to nuclear family type. And in male we got 5 for higher. For higher we got 5, 5, right? See here. I think it's not going up, but anyway, so 5, 5, 2, 2, and 6, 6, 3. That is what is the my table. I think I can go for my table. You see, this 5 now further splitted into 2 plus 3. So each of 2 and 3, like 2 individuals belongs to combined family, 3 individuals belongs to nuclear family. 2 individuals belongs to combined and each of. Now 1, 1, 1, each of 1, 1, 1, 1. Under primary, each of 1, 1, 1 belongs to combined nuclear. Here in 6 and 3, 4, 3, 4 people belongs to combined, and I think people who has higher education, they are more in nuclear families. And people in secondary education, this is what is my understanding. So my understanding on this analysis is, so people whose education is secondary, but most of them, no. For female, most of them combined, raised from combined, they are coming from combined family. But in same secondary category, only one individual in male category, only one individual belongs to combined family, but two individual belongs to nuclear family. I think there is some opposing feature here. In female individuals, most of them belongs to combined. In male individuals, most of them belongs to nuclear. There is an opposing. So this is a this is actually the multivariate crosstab. Okay, why multivariate? Because we have more than two variables here. One is gender, the other one is family, the other one is. You can also, change the. I think you can also change this. What happens if I use, family here? Gender by education and family. Let's see. I don't know. I'm just doing this. Okay. Yeah. Now you see how the shape of the. For every female, there are three categories here: higher, primary, and secondary, and against combined and nuclear. Now, for female, most of the individuals, you see here, secondary, the female individuals whose education is secondary, and most of them belongs to combined. Whereas in nuclear families, three of the individuals whose education is higher, they belongs to nuclear, something like that. So let me not confuse you. So this is how you can perform, you can use this function, FTAP. So margin table, this will gives you the margins, which means it is as best as table. That's all. If you use this command margin table, it is as best as table. But here you will be using margin table command over my table, not on the. You can also combine that. Okay, proportions table, it is just going to return you the probabilities. It is possible for you to go by the percentage of the individuals, like what percentage of individuals belongs to a particular category. So that is. And then F table, this is actually a multivariate crosstab, which means it is possible for you to make a crosstab or a contingency table for more than two factors. Okay, now let's see what else is there. Xtab. An Xtab function allows you to create a cross tabulation using formula style. Yeah, this is actually the advanced way of referring to crosstabs. A three-way frequency table. Xtabs performs a three-way frequency table. Three-way, I call it as multivariate crosstab. You can call it as a three-way. So now we need three different factors, but we can use the formula instead of separating them by comma. R is very popular for formulas, and please be cautious. Okay, hello, are you all listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So I'll be asking this question. Are you all listening to me? Because all of you are behind the, your screens. I don't know. I have to ask you this question. Otherwise, I don't know how many of you really listening to me. Maybe a couple of you say yes, and the rest of the people I don't have the information. So that is why I'm just asking you this question. What happened? I think I got a message. Seems. Hey, where are you? Okay. But why this disappeared to me? Okay, fine. So now we are going for the Xtabs. Xtabs allows us to go for the formulas. Is actually one of the building blocks in our language. We will come to know the importance of these formulas when I take up the discussion for regression. There is a statistical technique called regression, bivariate and multivariate regression. Then you will appreciate how these formulas really works. It is also possible for us to use the formulas for crosstabs. Okay, so that is sufficient for right now. Otherwise, you will get confused. There is a function called Xtabs, like F table, and so this is actually an advanced. Whenever we use formulas, we also have to tell where is the data. That is actually how we perform the formulas. I'll just do this, and I'll create my table by using the Xtabs. This time, what I do is, where is that? Okay. Now I have my data, right? That is survey data. My data is survey data. Now my I already have my table, so I don't want to use my table. It is going to be 1. Okay. Now I use Xtabs. No, I think I already have this in the. Yeah, this is actually the. So here, I can just edit this comment. Statement from my history. My table 1. This is just and X tabs. X tabs, yeah, X tabs. So where from it coming? X tabs. It coming from the package tabs. Okay. Now when I press this, you're saying is deprecated when X is a character with actual length of warning message. Consider okay. So we need to use formula, right? I forgot that. So, tilde. This is called tilde ending. Shift and left extreme top extreme button after just below escape you got a button special character called tilde. So in R we need to use wherever we make a formula we need to make use of this tilde symbol in. Then after that we have to make a formula. This is what is the formula, tilde and then plus something like that. So this is what is called formula, tilde. Okay, actually we have the RHS and LHS. Wherever we have tilde refers to the LHS. It divides the two different parts of a formula. Actually what happens in regression, this tilde is placed somewhere here. If I place tilde here, this means it is a formula having LHS and RHS. So LHS I have gender, RHS I have family and education. That is actually the usual. But here in XTabs we don't use. There is no LHS and RHS. We will be using tilde in the beginning of the formula. You just have to press that special character left top corner in your. You have that. Now where is the data? My data is there inside survey data. Okay, when I press now my table, one is there. So this is actually the, so okay. So survey data education for higher. So this is the table. Family versus gender. So family. Given the education higher, for higher level, this is the cross tab. For primary, this is the cross tab. And for secondary, this is the cross tab. Hello, are you all following? Is it, does this make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Now what happens, this
Yeah, sir.
my table is divided into three different parts, and for each level of the education, given the education higher, this is crossed up between the family versus gender. Given the education level primary, this is a crossed up versus family and gender. So for each family, so these cross tabs, inside cross tabs are versus family versus gender for each category. So these are the frequencies. I think now it is easy for you to go for the, you can just simply take them for interpretation. I don't need to tell you the interpretation. You just have to concentrate on these numbers. Each of two from female belongs to combined. Each of three from gender belongs to nuclear. And each of an individual from gender belongs to combined versus nuclear. But here there are some interesting things. Imbalances are there. Here more number of female individuals belongs to combined in secondary. So this part of the table here, all actually they're all not all normal. There is no abnormal observations here as far as higher and primary is concerned. But frequencies looks to be abnormal when we take secondary. But this revelation is not possible from the previous analysis. When I was trying to create XTabs and all, this abnormality was not that clear. But only from XTabs, this abnormality is clear. Okay, you can also change these factors, order of the factors, so that here gender by family and the categories are education. You can do one thing. You can take the gender and keep it at last, and you can carry on education. You can move the education to the first place and see what kind of changes are going to take place. Okay, that is about the XTabs. Okay, XTabs, and now it is also possible for us to use the F table, which one is here, this one at top of the XTabs, kind of like say for example F table, and now my table 1. So now what is going to happen is this is actually it provides summary table, like here we have same kind of earlier we had it is just like an F table. That's all. It is like going moving forward and backward kind of thing. This function is same as this function. Somewhere we had this F table somewhere. Okay, now it is also possible to use summary function. Summary, this is a base function. My table 1. Let's see what's going to happen. Oh, you got number of cases 23 and number of factors 3. Oh, it performs the chi-square test. That's great actually. Performs chi-square test. The chi-square value is 2.07 for degrees of freedom 7, which means this is actually the number of rows minus 1 multiplied number of columns minus 1. That is degrees of freedom. And then p-value is close to 1, 0.95, which means we can't reject the null hypothesis. If the p-value is close to 1, we can't reject the null hypothesis. It says this is actually a warning. This warning appears if you have two less frequencies in your table. Here you have few of the frequencies are 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, something like that. Actually, as a rule of thumb, we at times need to have the frequencies more than 5. Okay, if the frequency values are less than 5, then this warning message appears. Now that's great actually. The summary table will perform the chi-square test. We don't need to go for chi-square test separately. Suppose if you have a contingency table like this, simply by executing the summary function over that contingency table, it is possible for us to perform the chi-square test. Okay, now this is the chi-square value. You can compare this value with the tabular value for degrees, but we don't have the table. That is why we believe in p-value. P-value is useful for us whenever we don't have the tabular chi-square table. Now the p-value is close to 1. Now how are we going to do the? Do you know how to interpret the p-values, guys? Anybody of you? What is the p-value? P-value is a probability value. Probability values are very much useful. Now H0 is accepted if the p-value is close to 1, and H1 is HA or alternative hypothesis is accepted if the value is close to 0. So this is actually the thumb rule. Hello, all of you, be cautious. Even the faculty members don't know this fact. Even the PhD guys, people doing PhD, they do a lot of misinterpretations. They wrongly interpret these p-values. See, why do we need the p-values? Because every time we will not be having the tables, like in T. How many of you know the t-test or g-test, jet-test? Anybody of you studied jet-test in statistics?
The population sample test, sir.
Yeah, it's not population test actually, but there is a
That's
test
it.
called jet-test,
Yes,
normality test, t-test,
Yes, sir.
jet-test. These are all parametric tests. Chi-square test is a non-parametric test, and t-test, jet-test, these are all parametric tests.
Yes, sir.
In jet-test, what is the let's say kind of I don't know. This is actually I don't know how many of you do you all have the idea about the normal distribution?
Yes, sir.
How much of the data is being covered under one standard deviation? Like say, if I ask you this question, suppose imagine that you got some normal distribution. Okay, this is normal. Imagine that this is normal distribution. This is not, doesn't look like a normal distribution, but this is actually the central value called mean. And there are for every, this is 1 standard deviations, 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations, and this is -1, and this is -2, and this is -3. So what actually, as by the rule of thumb, how much of data is being covered within mean plus or minus 1 standard deviations? So if I ask you how much of the data is being covered under this limits, I'll just cover that with, so this is plus or minus 1. Can somebody tell me? Roughly 64% of data. Okay, 64% of data is being covered within plus or minus 1 standard deviations, and 90% of data 90 to 90, yeah, 95% of data will be covered between plus or minus 2 standard deviations. So when you move towards 2 standard deviations from the location, which means the central value, it is possible for you to cover 95% of the, and when you reach 3 standard deviations, it is possible for anybody to cover 99.9% of data. That is actually the rule of thumb. That is why the Z value, I mean the probability of Z, okay, will be 0.64 at 1 standard deviations, and the probability value at 2 standard deviations will be 0.95, okay, and the probability value at 3 standard deviations will be 0.99. So that is why we call this, these are the standard values of Z distribution. These are Z values. Okay, I think it is 90% confidence level. At 90% confidence level, the Z value is going to be 0.64. 95% confidence level in the sense these standard deviations. 95%, I mean 95%, at 90%, I'm sorry actually, this is 90% confidence intervals. At 90% confident, 90% of the data can be covered at 1 standard deviations. 95% of the data is covered under 2 standard deviations. 99% of the data is covered under 3 standard deviations. The Z value or Z value at 90% confidence interval. I mean, we are 90% confident that that level of coverage of the data is also understood as the confidence interval. This is confidence interval CI. CI is equal to x bar plus or minus 1, I mean some Z standard deviations. This is actually the confidence interval is x bar plus or minus Z standard deviations or T standard deviations or any other standard deviations. Now the lower limit is going to be x bar minus Z sigma, and upper limit is going to be x bar plus Z sigma, and whatever happens in between this lower limit and upper limit is what is called the confidence level. This is confidence level. So if we are 90% confident that the it is highly likely that some certain data point can be identified between these two limits, then the Z level is going to be 1.64. We have to use 1.64. Z value for 90% confidence interval is going to be 1.64. Z value for 95% confidence interval is going to be I think 1.3 is going to be 2.5 one day. 2.5. Then I have to see Z value at 90%, 90 confidence level. 1.64 to 1.9, yeah, 1.64. And the Z value at 95% confidence level is 1.96. And the Z value at 3 standard deviations or 99% confidence level is 2.57. These are all actually the standard values. You have to by heart them. 1.64, 1.96, 2.57. These are the G for normal distribution. Z distribution is normal distribution. And Z value for 90% confidence level is 1.6, something like that. So here, if you come up here, you see this is actually this is chi-square. Okay, I cannot. So this is a Z table and idantha kuda Z table. Okay, so let's come back to the chi-square value. So we don't have so usually probability values are useful whenever we don't have the tables with us. We'll depend on the p-value. This p-value is nothing but this 95%, 90%, 25%, other than. So if the p-value is close to 0, okay, p-value is close to 0. This one here I said if the p-value is close to 0, then you can't reject the null hypothesis. If the p-value is close to if the p-value is close to 0, you can reject the null hypothesis. Reject null hypothesis. And if the p-value is close to 1, you can't reject the null hypothesis. We cannot reject the null hypothesis. We accept the null hypothesis. So when you accept the null hypothesis, you are rejecting. We don't have evidence in support of the alternative hypothesis. We don't have evidence. When we are accepting null hypothesis, we don't have evidence in support of the alternative hypothesis. When you are rejecting null hypothesis, we have the evidence in support of the alternative hypothesis. Is it clear what I'm talking now? Or I will explain you once again. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it clear what I'm talking now? Or should I explain once again?
Clear,
If the
sir.
p-value is close to 0, we actually reject the null hypothesis, which means we have the evidence in support of the alternative hypothesis. If the p-value is close to 1, so we accept the null hypothesis, which means we don't have the evidence in support of the alternative hypothesis. Now the question is, what is this null hypothesis and what is this alternative hypothesis? That is actually the study interest. Okay. Now in this context, we are studying 3 different variables. Now I will make an assumption that all these 3 individual variables are independent from each other. That is actually null hypothesis. They're all independent. So what I mean to say is, family has nothing to do with gender. Gender has nothing to do with education. Now in this study, using this data, I cannot take decisions related to gender by using family, and I cannot take decisions related to family by using education. I cannot take decisions related to education by using family, and vice versa, so on and so forth. If that is my study assumption, which means null hypothesis, I mean to say that these 3 variables are independent from each other. Independent. Gender is independent from family. Family is independent from education. Okay, that is my null hypothesis. Now, obviously, what is alternative hypothesis? Can somebody tell me? If I say null hypothesis is independent, what is the alternative hypothesis? Hello, somebody, it is just a common sense. I don't need to tell you.
Dependence, sir.
Dependent. That's it. Dependent. If the null hypothesis, if I assure that the null hypothesis is independent, then the alternative hypothesis will be dependent. Okay. Now let us come back to the p-value. What is the p-value? It is close to 1. Now somebody tell me, what should I do? What is my decision? What is my inference? Now the p-value is 0.95, which is close to 1. Now what is my decision? Do I need to accept the null hypothesis or reject the null hypothesis?
It is accepted, sir.
Yeah, we are accepting null hypothesis, whereas telling that we don't have the sufficient evidence in support of the alternative hypothesis. Means what? They're all independent. So we are accepting the study proposition or study assumption that all the variables are independent. Actually, so in this data, it is not possible for us to. So till now, what we are doing, we are just trying to, making decisions based on, other variables. Gender depending on family depending on education. That is how we are trying to interpret the data. But whereas the chi-square test is telling us that you can't do that activity, because in this data, as far as data goes, gender does not depend on family does not depend on education does not depend on, so vice versa, so on and so forth. So you can't take any decisions. That is what chi-square test is telling us. Is it clear? If it is not clear, please ask me the questions. If it's not clear, ask me the questions.